So we are in the third session of a Saturday Millennium Dawn game. We are playing Ethiopia, which is now Abyssinia. Just to briefly overview what has happened. In the beginning, we were under the post-communist Zenawi government, which was a Western outlook socialist government. They completely failed to prevent a major famine in Ethiopia. And while Zenawi went to Europe to secure investments, the nation starved. The Ethiopian people, tired of the oppression, saw fit to have mass protests in Addis Ababa, which resulted in a coup of the government and the overthrow of Zenawi. The remnants of the Socialist Party, the Eritrean rebels and Salafists alike, formed a broad coalition which declared a civil war against Zara Selassie, the great-grandson of Haile Selassie, who was then instituted as monarch in Addis Ababa. After a quick civil war, we were able to stabilize, but we've had massive loan problems, a complete lack of industrialization and development, and a very hostile international community. There was a UN Security Council vote to embargo us for not releasing the rebel provinces in the north, which are known as Eritrea. So it's been very rough and very brutal, but we are finally in a pretty solid place, so this should be good. We're holding on to our XP because we're actually researching advanced fighter jets. Currently, Abyssinia is in the process of developing its own domestic military-industrial complex. As we've said since day one, it is the mission of this government to attempt to make ourselves completely independent from outsiders in Africa, whether that be economically or militarily. So we are going to seek to develop our own arms industry and arms manufacturing, including very advanced fighter jets, which we're trying to get to. We're going to go to 4.5. And we're going to make a really good variant of that, and then hopefully we'll be able to export that to other African countries in order to provide a more independent Africa, a non-exploitative one. Most of our economy is entirely due to foreign investment, so we need to keep securing that. But the issue is, again, we are trying to stay very independent from the rest of the world in terms of economics, so we have to start getting off of the teat of international investment here and become more reliant on our partners in Africa. I really want us to get our debt down so we can do mutual investment. Our interest rate has gone down to 2.1%, but I want to get that even lower. Once we get below around 300 billion in debt, we'll be able to, I think, do some more aggressive mutual investments. But until then, I want to hold off. So let's go ahead and go into an economic boom right now. And then I think we're going to raise our tax rate a little bit more. Perfect. We are running a very nice surplus now in government. Good to see. It's been quite a while. When we first started off, we had 2 factories. We had a GDP per capita of, I believe, like 1,000, and we had really no income to speak of. I think we were running a 3 billion deficit, so we've come a long way. What we're going to be working on in today's game and next week's game is the development of a Abyssinian space program. That's what we're going to be doing. We are going to build up, not ICBMs, but rather a satellite network of our own making and have a space program. That is what we're going to seek to do by the end of this game here. Welcome, everyone, to the third African Union meeting. Thank you all for being here. It is the position of Abyssinia that we have done much work in terms of developing the independence and sovereignty of our continent that we look forward to doing in the future. The first thing I want to start off with is addressing the issue of the Egyptian justification of their false war in Sudan. It is the position of Abyssinia. If you don't mind, I would like to respond very briefly. It is the position of this government that if we are to be respected by the international community in Africa, be viewed more as an economic, political, and military player, we must no longer fall into what we previously did, which was constant wars, territorial expansion, and other such barbaric activities. We must be committed to territorial sovereignty and economic focus, not military one. So, Egypt, I would like to give you a chance to explain yourself, because this, as far as we see it, was a real affront to the African Union and our purpose here today.
In reality, it was mostly because some of our drones caught the Sudanese troops literally oppressing with their weapons and literally obligating to work the South Sudanese citizens. After the civil war, we saw also citizens which didn't even participate in the war by their race. And right now, South Sudan is massively oppressing their own people.
You understand how that might be seen as a really big issue to other members of the African Union, that you are suggesting that the only reason you did not take any territorial gains or declare a direct war on Sudan was the bullying of a European power. I mean, to us, that is a very serious issue.
But as UK intervened, we had to back down.
To just make something very clear, as we said to Egypt, Abyssinia was prepared to militarily directly intervene into that conflict, and to be quite frank, we do lack the military supplies to give a proper fight to the Egyptians, though we would have done so regardless. And as such, it really is a shame. Hold on, it really is a shame to have to require the help of outside African powers. We all have discussed at length in the past our desire to independence, a commitment to independence of Africa, but I think it becomes very clear to us that if strongmen like the one that we currently see in Cairo are able to bully the African Union around like this, that we do need to reconsider. But that is not the issue. I mean, we're building our own technologies. The issue that we're talking about here today is the fact that Egypt is willing to use the relative technological and military advantage to bully other African nations. And as such, Abyssinia would probably suggest that we consider removing Egypt from the African Union, as it looks very bad on all the other countries here today. And I think that there's really no option.
You will just make it work.
That is fine. We'll take all action
Egypt
necessary.
has influence over many African nations. You will just make it work for yourself.
Hold on, are you threatening Ethiopia with that?
I believe that was a threat. At this point, Abyssinia would like to put a formal motion on the floor to expel Egypt from the African Union. Are we okay with a roll call vote?
South America second.
Hear me out. You have exactly 12 divisions, only one tank brigade. Our intelligence also says that you have mostly bad divisions. Basically, what I'm saying that we have intelligence over Ethiopia, Nigeria, South Africa.
Very well, and as is the case, Egypt will be formally expelled from the African Union due to their warmongering and clear desire to bully African nations. As such, we will have security export the delegate out of this meeting. At this point, Abyssinia does feel like Egypt is a bit of an existential threat to Northeast Africa. As you know, Abyssinia is attempting to rebuild after our famine and civil war, but to be quite frank with you, our military technologies is quite behind nations like Egypt. Now, our Air Force will be very modern very soon. We are well on our way to having fighter jets that can frankly rival many of the powers of Europe, but beyond that, we do lack a lot of military technologies. I would just again caution us to remember our commitment to joint action. And we've just been embargoed by Egypt, I see. Wonderful. In order to deal with rogue actors like this. And frankly, I think that we should perhaps, in the event of any form of Egyptian aggression, discuss the possibility of intervention there, to be frank. They will be talking to other powers to intervene in Sudan and elsewhere. So at this point, I would suggest, we've talked a lot here today, ladies and gentlemen, about the need for African sovereignty. And I would love to say right now, we are able of holding our own. I think we are all realists here. We're all men of stature who have gone to where we are, not believing in fairy tales. We are not prepared to deal with many of the threats that could go against Africa. So at this time, Abyssinia would like to formally suggest defining of international allies in order to support the growing power of the African Union, as frankly, I don't feel militarily we are capable of holding our own, unless others disagree. We had discussed in depth in the past with both Turkey and Italy, who we would be happy to approach in this regard. I think that it's important that we start to secure international partners, military and economically, because again, we all want an Africa sovereign. We all want a strong Africa. But if our dreams are to be crushed so early by these warmongers in Egypt or anywhere else, both international or within Africa, these dreams will be over, gentlemen. So we need to take action here. Very well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming through the Third African Unit. It's always wonderful speaking with you all. We are all committed to keeping Egypt contained and to working with international allies in order to make this happen. So again, just a reminder, South Africa and Nigeria are going to go speak with the United Kingdom, Morocco will speak with Italy, and I will speak with Iran. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will speak again in a year's time.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello there.
Selassie.
It's the great betrayer, Mr. Selassie.
You know, I really do take issue with such suggestions, considering how willing we were to work with you and how you betrayed the trust of ourselves and the world by your pursuit of these nuclear weapons. It really does sadden me to see it, Herr Schroeder. It really does.
Selassie, you know that Germany supported your country in the baddest times.
And we will
historical baddest
always
times.
thank you for that. And if you had not pursued this nuclear agenda, we would be happy to continue to do so. It really saddens me. I considered yourself and your nation a good friend, and for your people I still do, but I am so concerned by this nuclear issue that we're seeing out of your country right now.
Selassie, first of all, thanks for coming to Berlin. I think this was a smart decision. Let me clarify our nuclear policies. Germany only has nuclear policies because we have classified information that our enemy states, as Turkey and in the past Italy and even France, prepared war against our nation. So everything we did as Selassie was to defend the spirit of the German people.
I understand that, but Herr Schroeder, you have to understand the perspective of Abyssinia and being very worried about a relationship with a power that did this, and that due to that has been ostracized by much of the world. I mean, there was a huge debate in my parliament about this issue, and we are just very concerned about what this could lead into. We don't want war. You know, we are a nation committed to economic ties and development.
We have new ties to Italy. We prevented a big war with France and with Italy. Germany does not want war. We were always the only nation.
And this is why we were so willing to build a relationship with Berlin in the beginning. We know you are normally committed to diplomacy. It's just your very rapid shift in policy in regards to nuclear warheads in that test. It was very disturbing. We do not seek nuclear Armageddon. We do not seek nuclear war. We don't seek even border conflicts. It is the position of the African Union that we are seeking to build economic ties and intergovernment cooperation. And we're just so concerned. My parliament's concerned. I'm concerned. The citizens of my nation are concerned, which is why we, for a period, had to cut off diplomatic ties. I mean, there were broad calls through the many different interest groups in Abyssinia to cut off relations entirely with your country. And obviously, as you know, we did even shut down several Volkswagen plants to make a statement, which is that we do not seek nations developing nuclear warheads. Our nation is committed to denuclearization, which we know is realistically not going to happen. But we need to have our beliefs reflect our actions, you understand?
Mr. Selassie, all I hear is like Ethiopians are concerned about this and this and this.
Of course.
What about the German people concerned about the ever-growing threat of Poland, the US, and France?
I won't deny that there are many major dangers. Just now, we had to fend off a Sudanese invasion from Egypt. The sad reality is that war still happens, but war doesn't necessitate nuclear action. And I understand, I suppose, the desire of Germany to have protection from other nuclear powers. I suppose I do understand that. It's just really disappointing to see a nation which we thought was so committed towards peace and economic development pursue that course of action. It was a really dramatic change in pace from what we'd seen previously from your government.
Which is also
so let me say the main thing I came here to say, which is that we are looking to rebuild relations with Berlin. I had to follow my parliament. You know I'm not a dictator. I am a constitutional monarch, and as the leader of this country, I am beholden partially to my parliament. They did formally vote for us to make a public statement, cut off relations, which we did, but I hope that we can attempt to rebuild our relationship. You know, our nation is thankful for the aid you gave when no one else does. And we hope that now that this has been a little bit better clarified, and that we can continue to see obviously reactionary actions from a now new nuclear state in Europe, that we can rebuild.
Herr Vizekanzler, ich würde sagen, dass wir von dem Äthiopier quasi erwarten, dass er unser Atomprogramm unterstützt, also dass er nichts dagegen tut. Und dass er übrigens die Volkswagen-Fabriken wieder aufbaut.
Ja, das muss passieren. Das muss unbedingt passieren.
Yes, Germany is willing to come back to a great diplomatical relationship with Ethiopia when Ethiopia fulfills the upcoming things. One, Ethiopia needs to recognize the German right to have nuclear weapons because we were in constant threat.
We would recognize it, but only in a defensive context.
Okay, that's still a recognition, so yes. And two, that Volkswagen fabrics are open again in Ethiopia.
We would be willing to do that, but we would also need a formal statement in writing from your government that your nuclear devices are only a defensive arrangement. We would need that in physical writing.
Yes, we can provide you with this.
Well, regardless, I do have other matters to attend to. Thank you for seeing me, Herr Schroeder, and Vice Chancellor
Fischer.
Yes. I hope that we can rebuild our relations, and I hope that Germany truly is committed to defense of nuclear principles.
Indeed.
And anyway, thank you for your time. Egypt's selling information. Oh, wow. So we're going to sell information on the AU military. Wow. This is obviously Zero Selassie of Abyssinia. At this time, the Somalian government has fallen to the rebel forces of Al-Shabaab, and they are now receiving support from the Egyptians, who I think are moving troops into the border. We would like to call on the support of Nigeria for obviously an intervention here. And obviously we can't have terrorists on our border and the Egyptians helping them out, which is currently what is happening.
Yes. Do you want me to go to war with them as well? Help you out?
If you wouldn't mind, that would be very appreciated. We are currently going to go towards global interventionism, but it'll take us some time, so.
Right. Do I have permissions? Do I have permissions to land troops into you?
If you would like to request military bases, we would be happy to host you here.
Yes.
We need to cut off the head of this this threat to us immediately. Al-Shabaab cannot be allowed to exist here. Thank you. I see you're justifying.
Yes. Yeah.
Fuck, I did save a picture of Al-Shabaab on my computer. That's.
Yes,
The NSA will use that when I'm
watching
having my tribunal before the fucking federal government, so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today due to the crisis currently in the Horn of Africa. Al-Shabaab has overthrown the semi-democratic government in Somalia and have taken power there. They are obviously an extremist terror organization, which is a threat to the Horn of Africa. That alone would constitute a crisis, but as I think everyone can see, they are currently getting access from Egypt, who is clearly now supporting this terror organization, further making it clear that Egypt is a rogue state, if not perhaps even a terror state. Action must be taken here. As you can see, Nigeria is preparing for a war, and as soon as we are able to, Abyssinia will also be taking concrete military action to intervene here.
But speaking clearly, I as Nigeria will not allow, we cannot allow Al-Shabaab, a terrorist state, or any ISIS, or sorry, not ISIS, any Salafist extremist movements to stay in Africa. They will not only threaten Ethiopia's stability, they will threaten neighbors as they border many nations they can threaten.
It's a domino effect that we cannot allow to happen, to be frank with you. So we need to cut off the Hydra's head and burn it to its core before it sees the light of day.
The United Kingdom is preparing new forces to deal with this threat, and if the African Union will allow this, we can deploy it in key territories.
We would be greatly appreciative of you doing so, and potentially allowing air and land volunteers in the event of an intervention, and if it becomes necessary, one in Egypt. Obviously, Abyssinia does not currently have the naval capacity to contend Egypt's navy, so in order for us to intervene into Egypt, we would need the help, direct help of outside actors to do so. At this point, it is clear that he is supporting a terrorist state, and we cannot allow that. We would like to formally request our international partners' help and directly intervene in this war. If Egypt is willing to support, let me reiterate, Al-Shabaab, a terror organization, militant, extremist Islam within the Horn of Africa, that state frankly cannot be allowed to exist. At this point, we would like to formally request the AU members and our international partners' help to take decisive and final action against Al-Shabaab and thusly the Egyptian government.
Well, the United Kingdom will support our African Union brothers in this matter.
Mr. Blair, can we... Sorry?
Iran will support too.
Can we ask for direct military action here?
Iran will.
I see no problems to this.
Wonderful. In that case, I would like to formally ask you to justify on either Egypt or Somalia.
I see. We will begin our invasion preparations of Egypt. Note that the current United Kingdom fleet will be on the other side of the Mediterranean, and we will meet in the middle, I'm sure.
Perfect.
Yes.
These are terrorists in the full definition of what that means. We cannot allow them or anyone who supports them to exist within the African continent. Not when we have come so far, ladies and gentlemen. By cutting off these two heads and destroying these cancers in Africa, we will build a new era for Africa and the Horn. Stability and economic development and peace will reign supreme. I would also like to discuss what we'll do with the post-war era. As you know, this will be the third or fourth government within Somalia in recent memory. I would like to suggest, and I know that there'll probably be pushback on it, but I'd like to formally suggest that it could become a overseen state from Abyssinia. I just like to offer the possibility. I mean, Clearly, that government cannot maintain itself. They have, again, had 4 regime changes there. I'm sure that the first suggestion would be that we're wishing to take power, but frankly, we're getting very tired of constant regime changes and terrorists on our border, and would like to suggest the possibility of us directly helping to ensure a stable government.
You have Nigeria's support on this, as we cannot. Right now, we are united and strong against these terrorists, but who's to say that we leave and then they don't just flip back to?
It's happened several times already, to be frank, and we will not do this without international support. I know that obviously having direct control over another nation is often looked down upon, and we understand that, but let me reiterate, this is on our border. They have created terrorist networks during our own civil war, if you may recall. There were many terrorist Salafist elements involved in those rebel groups, which came from Somalia. So let me reiterate, to be frank, we're getting very tired of this. And as we're looking to stabilize the Horn, we would like to formally suggest it. Whoa, what? No. Did the server crash or did I crash?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Gentlemen, the lies prepared against Germany are staggering. We are a completely defensive nation. We never said we will use nukes first. We never said that. We are only defending our motherland. The United States of America is trying to provoke a war against the German people right now. 100,000 American soldiers are in Polish territory, right on this moment, on German borders.
At the same time, we have foreign-provoked mass protests by left-wing radicals in Germany. That's the reason why we are still in Berlin and not in face with you. But I tell you one thing, you will never be able to erase the German people, our German blood and land from the maps and history of the world. Official...
They're almost gone. 84. I'm going to take his mayo, and this is over. Wonderful. Quick and decisive action from the African Union and her allies have resulted in the overthrowing of the Islamic State of Somalia. Wonderful to see. Indeed. The first thing we're going to prioritize is the development of Somalia. We can't get rid of the terrorists and the terrorist culture there if we can't give the people good jobs and access to a high quality of life. So Abyssinia will be committed to building up the economy of Somalia. After Nigeria, please, can you end? After which we will be releasing them.
Okay, Germany. Okay, that's an okay. Germany's got a new leader.
Yep, he got kicked from our faction too. So yeah, the Bundeswehr has taken power. So the military currently is in control of Germany, which of course does have nuclear weapons. So that is very worrying to see. It appears as though there has been a revolution in Egypt. The tyrannical government that supported terrorists throughout Africa appears to have been overthrown, though I know that Abyssinia is very wary of this new government in Cairo, so for now we will not acknowledge or negotiate with them. I hope the rest of the AU will follow suit. Hello there. What can I do for you?
Hello. It's the chairman of China.
I'm well aware.
I see you.
Mr. Xi,
you're starting
Xi Jinping.
to stabilize the Horn of Africa.
We're doing what we can. I would also like to reiterate that, again, we have puppeted the Somali government. We are directly involved in building a proper government up there. But to make it very clear, we will be developing the region and then hopefully releasing them as a functioning democracy. Already Salafism grows again in Somalia, and we're really trying to stabilize the region. So it is a brutal task, but one that we are committed to. So stabilizing the Horn is of pinnacle importance to us.
Oh, yes. I've started some care packages for you. So just let me know if there's anything you lack, as I would love the stabilization of Africa, as it's
if you can help to develop Somalia by providing a few investments there, that would go a long way in stabilizing the region. The more people who are having good jobs and working in that region will result in less terror extremism elements there. So if you could provide anything for that, that would be appreciated.
Ah, yes. That is something I'm more than capable of doing.
Wonderful. We are very appreciative for you. Britain has been committed to maintaining sovereignty within the African Union and are close partners with almost every single member of the African Union. So we will continue to cooperate.
General Schneiderhan is here in Ethiopia to confront the Ethiopian people, and we would like to ask you if you have some evidences about the killing of our government.
Sir, I am currently in a meeting with Xi Jinping. I would ask that you not barge your way into such a meeting in the future.
Turkey is declaring war against us right now.
We do not acknowledge the Bundeswehr government in Berlin, so we have nothing to say to you.
Nothing to say to us.
You slaughtered Herr Schroeder. Guards, see these people out.
Germany wins. Deutschland,
Deutschland über alles. Schweinhund.
Okay.
I apologize for that. We will need to get new security.
Ah, yes. I've had a one of those experiences myself. It was before the unification of Yugoslavia. Some
Indeed.
hot-headed individuals entered and
my security will have to be fired. I apologize, Mr. Jinping. I know your security has been compromised on this one. I am so very sorry. Addis Ababa will have to completely overhaul its security protocols. I'm so sorry.
Yes, I can help you with some. If you need anything, just let me know.
Of course. Thank you for all your help, Mr. Jinping. China is a true friend of Abyssinia, as you have been since our famine. We thank you yet again.
Yeah. Have a good day.
You as well. Someone's getting fucking fired. Bring my head of security in here. You're fucking fired. Get the hell out. Get the hell out. Take him to prison. Jesus. I have never been so embarrassed in my life. My head of security, he's gonna have to be investigated. It appears perhaps the Germans had more control over our security apparatus than we thought. That is very embarrassing.
Our crisis is that our intelligence, our very powerful intelligence agency that has 100% intelligence on Iraq government and our UAV captured the pictures of the Iraq secret nuclear sites. Our spies can confirm that. We have sent the documentation to Ethiopia. Our spies can confirm that Iraq researching nuclear warheads. So what we were gonna do is to basically change the government of Iraq and liberate people of Kurdistan in this regard.
We at the very least need to overthrow the regime in Baghdad if they're developing nuclear weapons. That needs to happen. We cannot have a dangerous state like Iraq getting nuclear warheads.
They are at the point of developing it. So
well, we need to get as soon as possible, because even if they get a little bit of technology, it's possible that they could build a dirty bomb or something. So we need to ensure that we get rid of that immediately. So the quicker the action we take, the better. I have heard rumors that the NATO is preparing a war against Germany. So frankly, I don't have any issue going to war with Iraq and Germany at this. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Germany does have nuclear weapons.
Yeah. They are not your first targets, Mr. Selassie. I do not believe that Ethiopia is on
I can't engage in a war with a country when I lack any form of anti-nuclear technologies of my country. So I cannot commit to a war where I would run the danger of my nation being hit with a nuclear warhead. So unfortunately, until Germany is dealt with, we'll have to stay out of this war.
We can wait. We can wait for Germany to see what happens in Europe.
Indeed.
Because we don't. I agree with Ethiopia. I don't want to risk any citizens of Iran in this aggression.
Indeed. In that case, I would propose we wait until the NATO peacekeeping action in Berlin overthrows that government, and then we go into Iraq and ensure that they do not create nuclear warheads. On that note, it appears that there's now a NATO war with Germany, which is going to be a nuclear war. So let's see how this. I think absolute neutrality in this war is what we'll need to do in order to ensure that none of us become a target by a nuclear country, which is what Germany is. It appears, though, Germany has been nuked. The Bundeswehr government in Berlin, after seizing power by overthrowing Schroeder with a violent coup that resulted in Schroeder's death, has been nuked by the NATO allies, and as such, Germany, for the second time in recent history, has been absolutely destroyed by a military coalition against it. They are currently at war with all of NATO, as you can see, all the red countries, including also Russia and India. China is not included in this war, but it is clearly the end of the Bundeswehr government in Germany. India has been hit by 2 nuclear warheads, Russia's been hit by 2, and Germany has been hit by at least 20 to 30. As such, Germany and a fair bit of Europe is currently just under a massive amount of nuclear radiation. Obviously, Africa is pretty much entirely unaffected, as is most of Asia and pretty much all the Americas. Though the war's not over, and I believe Germany is still at war with, Brazil and the US, which means they could get hit by nuclear weapons too. We'll have to see here. Germany just signed a peace treaty. That means that Germany is now still only at war with India, Brazil, and the US, so we'll see how this goes. Germany was a really good friend of ours in the early parts of this game. They helped us develop our economy when no one else did. When we had a famine, it was Germany that provided us aid. So we will attempt to help them how we can here after the nuclear war. Is this line of communication open?
Yes.
Yes, it is. But
I think we managed to get the communications back up. This is Zara Selassie of Abyssinia.
Here's the German military government, General Schneiderham.
Hello there. Is this still the military junta? Who is currently in power?
The Bundeswehr holds every German city. We are in power.
That is, frankly, very unfortunate to hear. Regardless of who's in power, Abyssinia remembers when you gave us aid during our most trying times. And as such, once your waters are safe of radiation for the most part, we will be looking to send humanitarian aid to your country. Food supplies, iodine pills, things of that sort to help alleviate. Our sensor readings, we're not getting any clear of it. How many times did Germany get hit? Do you know?
Very often, I think at least 20 warheads has hit Germany.
I am very sad to hear that your country has not learned the lesson of your warlike nature with this nuclear strikes as your country lies in ruins. But regardless of who still remains in power, we will offer humanitarian aid to your country if you choose to accept.
As Lassie, we accept it.
Very well. Given 2 months' time, once our scientists have concluded that it's safe to send shipments, we will send humanitarian aid shipments through the Bremen port. Obviously, the Hamburg port, your main port, is currently experiencing major fallout, so we can't do it there. But we will send ships through Bremen if you're able to get workers to get those out.
We try to, or should I say, establish a communication line to Bremen as soon as possible to inform.
Wonderful. I do hope that your government sees the errors of its ways and attempts to go in another path, but obviously we have no control over that. So we will attempt to simply alleviate the suffering for your people.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The German people will decide.
Indeed. Thank you for your time.
Hello.
Hello there. Is
Hello,
this
Your
is
Highness.
President Tamer? What can I do for you?
Yeah, this is President Michel Timmer from Brazil. We would like to do mutual investment offers if you are ready for it, of course, Your Imperial Highness.
Absolutely. We have a massive amount of funding that we are preparing to allocate for foreign investment, for mutual investment. If you would like to cooperate with our government, now that I think our rough patch is over, you have seen and realized, I hope, that the situation in Nigeria was necessary and we've transitioned to democracy. Hopefully we can now build an equitable economic partnership together.
Yes, I do hope we can achieve that as well. Yes, and we have cooperation with NASA. But one thing is for sure, we would like more allies in our event to conquer space.
Indeed.
And we believe, and as Ethiopia, as we have had such a major relationship since you have proven, not only to Lula, but to me and to the National Congress of Brazil, we think that would be an amazing opportunity for Ethiopia to get a taste, not only a taste, but possibly glory for this conquering of space. Would you be in to possibly...
We are very happy to hear this offer. As you know, Abyssinia is currently building up its own satellite and space program. We are researching advanced aeronautical vehicles, and we did plan on developing our own program. That would take some time. Cooperation with the Brazilian space program, which has already been developed by quite a lot, would be absolutely amazing. So we would fully be willing to do this.
Your Highness?
What can I do for you?
No, this is President Temer. I'm here with, of course, very confidential. Not really confidential because I've been leaked to the press, but it's not confidential news. As you know, Brazil has been doing tests for a possible space flight to Mars with astronauts on board.
Really?
And we are willing to see if Ethiopia has astronauts and willing to send them.
We don't have any astronauts. We are in really the beginning of our space program. However, if you would be willing to wait long enough, we have many well-trained pilots and people who would be able to do such a job if they are trained. If you would be willing, I could put together a list of candidates from our airspace program for astronauts who could be sent to Brazil to be trained. If you would allow an Abyssinian astronaut to go with you on your mission, I would suspect it would permanently secure good relations with my country and the African Union.
Alright, Mr. President, do you believe a month's worth of training for one of your Abyssinian...
I think at least we both know that astronauts aren't trained that quickly. Not if you want him to have any major tasks. If you want him to simply be an observer on this mission and take up space, sure. But if you want him to be able to participate and help out in this mission, which I suspect would be needed for such a long trip, I think at least 6 months to a year would be necessary, to be frank with you.
Right,
and I would understand if you don't want to delay your mission for that. I understand.
As you know, Brazil really cares about its allies, so we will halt the tests and we will train, of course, your astronauts accordingly to our...
Wonderful. I will put together a short list from our airspace candidates and send it over to your space directorate, where they will be happy to obviously pick and choose and run interviews. In any way my government can cooperate with you, we are happy to do so. And I'd like to formally thank your government for being willing to include us in this historic mission for the human species.
As soon as that short list is done and dealt with, we will be releasing to the press that there will be an Ethiopian, an Abyssinian,
If you wouldn't mind, could you phrase it as a member of the African Union? We are attempting to build more African solidarity, so I think it will go a much longer way if you said it was a member of the African Union rather than an Abyssinian.
We'd like to see which flags you would like to put in it. Would you like an Abyssinian flag, or would you like the African Union?
The African Union flag.
Alright, we will actually as well, since it will be the African Union flag, we would like to invite all members of the African Union.
Thank you, President Timmer.
Thank you, Your Imperial Highness.
We'll speak soon.